Before we get into today's content, just a quick thank you to Acer for providing out their amazing Helios 300 gaming laptop to allow me to edit all of the videos that I'll be providing to you guys from PAX West this year. To check out more information on the Helios 300, click the link in the description below. What is going on, guys? I am at PAX West here at the AMD booth with Don. We're going to be talking a little bit about Ryzen CPUs, maybe a little bit about Vega as well, and answering some of your questions that I put out to you guys on Twitter to see if you had any questions for AMD. So we'll get fired into all of that right now. So I guess my first question is to you, how do you feel about Ryzen and Threadripper and kind of the position that's put itself into the marketplace right now and kind of shaking things up out there?
You know, it's really deliberate. Nothing was an accident with Ryzen. We wanted to make an impact. We wanted to bring competition back. We wanted to up everybody's game. And it's funny, the industry has really exploded over the last year. And I think a lot of that's because of Ryzen. We came in at price points and with performance that on purpose was designed to get us market share and kind of, like I say, shake things up, make everybody go, oh, wow, like there's another player back in the high-end space. I don't think we could be happier about it. It's been so good, great reviews, folks realizing and recognizing that, you know, maybe there's more value to be had, and maybe it doesn't have to be the same, and maybe a low-end, user doesn't have to only have 2 cores. This stuff like that it's really gratifying to change the landscape.
Yeah, I could definitely tell with kind of the lineup and how everything played out that nothing was really by accident, and that was true in the marketing as well, saying everything is overclockable down to the lowest core, every single CPU, not just the X variants or these variants. So it all felt very, very directed at the competition, and it's certainly shaking things up, and I think we've seen that with their sort of response to everything, and it's just nice seeing to having more cores and more threads in the market without, sacrificing. More or less, I would say, because of the scalability on Ryzen, which is, I think, has been the most impressive thing, seeing it going from, 8 cores to 16 cores now with Threadripper, and they're still hitting 4 gigahertz. You're not having to really pull any of that kind of stuff back.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, on one hand, Ryzen, 4.1, 4.2 is about the limit, but on the other hand, we're giving that 4.2 to everybody. If they buy a low-end 1200 Ryzen 3, right, they can overclock it. If you've got a 16-core, 32-thread Threadripper, you can overclock it, right? So that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's just been a really good year. It's been a really busy year. It's been like a carpet bombing year. Like every month, every 2 months, there's been a constant cadence of stuff coming out. But like I said, we couldn't be happier, man. It's been really good.
Yeah, and like with the dust kind of starting to settle now on the initial Ryzen and Threadripper launch, where are we going in now with like Raven Ridge and the APUs and stuff like that a lot of people seem to be excited for as well?
Raven Ridge, as great as Ryzen is and as much headway as we've made with it, I think for a long time, I think our current generation of APUs is very limited based on how far the CPU side can go. And that's been a long time. And our graphics side has been great from day one on APUs. We've really set a really high standard. But if you wanted the highest performance CPUs, we didn't really have a player in the APU space. And I'm going to call it a processor because that's what it is. It's a processor with graphics. I'm sure you've heard by now that Raven Ridge is a Ryzen processor with Vega graphics.
Yeah.
And so that CPU bottleneck really goes away. I can't talk specifics and specs and stuff, but I mean, it only makes sense that this will be a true console replacement. A guy can go out, get a low power mini ITX system, and really have something that can really game the hell out of it, like with no compromises. Super small form factors, right out of the box, just bam, there you go. And that's really powerful, and that's something I'm really excited about. And this year we'll see them in notebooks. After that we'll see them in desktop. I'm really excited about how the market's going to take that, because it's something that wasn't really available, something with a decent CPU core that had that much graphics, that was for a reasonable price. All those things that AMD hits, we really try to get more value in each segment we attack, and next up, it's like people who want graphics built into the CPU don't need to buy a graphics card out of the gate, and really playable frame rates, really smooth frame rates, especially for esports. So
that's essential. 60 hertz plus or nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and you need the responsiveness, and I think we got it. I think it's going to be a really big winner. So
yeah, especially when you increase things like resolution. I was playing the Doom demo over there in 4K, I think it was, and it was buttery smooth. I think it was running Vega 64 or 56. I wasn't sure which one it was, but it didn't really matter either way because it was sitting at a solid 60 frames.
Yep, and that's it. And that's, I mean, and then all of a sudden, Raven Ridge, right? You get people with FreeSync monitors, great monitors, keep coming out, a giant FreeSync ecosystem. So once again, like even just bumping up our smoothness story, letting people get those great experiences. You don't have to buy like a $400 graphics card anymore if what you're playing is Dota 2. I mean, it's going to be really good. Even AAA titles on a Raven Ridge, that's playable. Like 1080p, that's going to handle it, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I said at the start of the video we'd be taking some questions from Twitter as well. Our first one comes from Benjamin at Trident Builds. He says, ask them if the Zen 2 CPUs will have a higher clock speed and if you can get better overclocking on them. So I guess that can really extend into, what kind of improvements we'll see on Zen 2 altogether with IPC, higher clock speeds, and where you're really targeting on the next generation.
Okay. And I've said this before in interviews, and I think it holds really true. Ryzen was the worst case scenario. It was a brand new architecture on a brand new node. So the worst case scenario we could have possibly had, right? And it's pretty good. You get, like I say, you get over 4 gigahertz a bit. We're definitely working on improving our engineers, really smart guys, and things are looking better as we go along. I can't talk to specifics on IPC, but I mean, that's an area of focus, right? We've got clock speed headroom to take advantage of, make sure people have more clock. And we've got tweaks and stuff to make sure performance for each clock is better. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's so hard to talk this stuff without being specific. Yes. I'm personally very encouraged by what's happening in the next while. And it's funny, we threw down in 2017. We've seen, our competitors starting to wake up and respond. And we're not just going to roll over. Like, we have more stuff to come. We've got really good stuff coming. Maybe we'll change stuff up on our end too. Like, it's not we're not a one-hit wonder. We're keeping the pressure on for some time. So it'll be a great 2018. It was a great 2017. See how things turn out.
All right, so last CPU question before we talk to Gilbert about the graphics card stuff. Joffins wanted to know, how does it feel to be back on top in the CPU market?
Wow. I can't describe how good it feels. You know what? I've been working at AMD for 3 years, and I'm a longtime AMD fan. My first serious CPU was a Duron, if you remember those, Joker. You look too young, maybe.
I've read things. I have Wikipedias.
Well, that was my first, it was the first serious CPU I had, and before that I always had these budget CPUs that never really did what I needed to, and once I really got serious about hardware, I got a Duron. And one of the reasons I really like AMD and that I came to AMD is that I really do, what's funny, companies have their corporate mantras, but we really do, as a company, look at a segment and say, what can we give these people that they don't get? Like, how do we be the guys that it's a no-brainer to buy AMD because we give them so much in this segment? And Ryzen's really opened our abilities up to attack higher segments with that. We were really good in budget segments for a while, but really having something on top, having a high-end Threadripper, and at the same time as offering that ultimate performance, we're still giving you the best for the dollar. We're still, there's value to be had in a $1,000 CPU, which sounds oxymoronish, but it's true. Like, if you do a ton of stuff at the same time, I used to be a content creator, like you are. Yeah. Well, not as good as you, obviously, Joker. But I would back in the day, you set your render. I was a 3D artist, and you set a render, and you wait for 2 days for your animation to be done. And it's so gratifying to be able to do, you've got so many resources on a Threadripper. You can, affinitize 28 threads and then play a game while you're doing it, or surf the web and have zero response loss. So every segment, we're like, what more can we give? And it's gratifying to be able to give that to higher end segments, which really people at the high end have not had value for a long time. They've been paying out the nose, and they don't really get, I think, what they deserve in a different experience for that money.
Yeah, and in that regard, I think it really helps to create a whole next generation of content creators that can get into it for a much more affordable price.
Exactly, and the second gratifying thing is it's chicken or egg, right? Game developers have to develop for the widest area of people to make their money back. They just have to. You can't make a game that requires 32 threads when there's nothing out there that does it. And maybe that's not the case, obviously. That's looking ahead, but if we can push the market, which we have, into giving everybody more cores and threads, then all of a sudden people start developing for that. They're like, hey, it makes a lot of sense to develop for guys who are running 8 threads, 12 threads. Maybe we can do something special for them, and maybe it changes the way people game in 5 years. That's that's just the really exciting part of this. That's the best part about being on top.
And as far as that goes, what are you guys doing to continue to optimize to make sure more game developers are taking advantage of more threads as possible? I know like Tomb Raider had an update earlier this year. Prey was optimized really well for the extra threads. So what are you doing to get that into older games that maybe are already out and future games as well?
I mean, that's a double-edged sword. Games that are already released, I think our focus is making sure if they have a problem on Ryzen processors, which some do, right? You'll see a big performance delta. You're like, why? Ryzen's pretty fast. And we'll go engage with the developer for games like, we did it for Dota 2 and for Rise of the Tomb Raider, and we just find out what was wrong. Future-looking stuff, I mean, once again, it's that chicken or egg scenario. When you have more threads and cores available, guys will start developing for it. We certainly have engineers that we hand out to guys who are developing games. Our partners like Bethesda have been really great. We're like, how do we take advantage of this hardware? And we're like, we send guys in to say, here's how you do it. Like, here's some ideas. And it's just a feedback loop, right? It just gets better and better and better. We finally have the APIs. Now they got to learn how to use them, and that's not an instant on. That's okay, but then it's inevitable. Like 3 or 4 years, next couple of years, you'll see the first guys doing it, making great advances, and then it becomes the norm, and then everybody starts doing that, and then maybe 5 years at 64 threads. Who knows, right? But it's that beautiful upgrade path that so long has been a plateau. No one's been pushing it harder, and now they really are, and I think that's going to benefit us all. And that's
And when it becomes more commonplace, it's inevitable that the developers will have to optimize for it.
And then we win, Joker. You guys win too.
More cores, more threads. That's the future, and it's here now. We're in the future right now.
Mind blown.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get out of here with Don, and be sure to tune in for the next video where I'll be talking about graphics cards with Gilbert. All of your guys' questions answered about VIG and everything. Thank you very much, Don, for your time.
Thanks, man. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, no problem. See you next year.